We're probably afraid to turn on the news these days since we hear that dreaded C word every 5 minutes. And to add to that, our world is torn by strife between political parties, strife between ethnic factions, strife between nations. We have problems of hunger, pollution of land and water, violence, problems in society. We see increasing crime rates, overcrowded prisons, hospitals overflowing with patients, mental stress, victims of drug abuse and alcoholism. We hear of the threat of economic crises, widespread unemployment like never before, just all sorts of hardships. The developing nations are in debt to the World Banks, running into billions of dollars with no prospect of ever able to repay the loans. Some say the Cold War ended with the removal of the threat of nuclear attack. Yet the world is still spending billions of dollars on defense to frighten and destroy each other because there's no trust. This is the advanced and civilized 21st century. Over the centuries, many have promised that with increased scientific knowledge, there will be spectacular progress, bringing greater wealth. As men and women became better educated, the thought was that they would choose more noble pursuits and take pleasure in literature and the arts, music, painting. The result would be a higher moral tone in society with improved behavior, resulting eventually in world peace. Politicians promised a new social order of justice and equality for all. As wealth became better distributed, people would be better off and would no longer envy one another. Banish poverty and you'll banish crime was one of the phrases that people heard. The finest powers of the human mind would be developed and peace would be preserved among the nations. Church leaders boldly joined in and confidently predicted that all nations would accept the gospel of Christ. The world would be conquered by preaching. That dream, ladies and gentlemen, has long faded. Looking around, there seems to be no hope for humanity, for a complete change, a complete world change, unless we're looking at the one source amongst us which has never misled us by encouraging false expectations, and that is the Bible. Throughout the Bible, human history is seen as ending in a great climax, often called the end of the last days. Certain passages in the Bible tell us quite clearly what those last days will be like. One of the clearest and most striking is Luke 21. The disciples asked Jesus what would be the sign of his coming, and they meant his return to the earth, and of the end of the world. And Jesus replies with a description of conditions which his followers would experience after his ascension to heaven. Then he speaks particularly of the Jewish people. They, the Jews, shall fall by the edge of the sword and shall be led away captive into all nations. Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, nations, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. This is from Luke 21, verse 24. This is a most remarkable prophecy, all in one verse. Let's look at it a little bit closer. The Jews were to suffer severely as a result of war. 40 years after Jesus' ascension to heaven in AD 70, the Roman armies invaded Judea. destroyed the city of Jerusalem, burnt the temple, and expelled the Jews. The Jews were driven into all the nations of the earth. For centuries, they were persecuted. Entire communities were sometimes exterminated. For centuries, the city of Jerusalem fell under national powers, the Romans, the Arabs, the Turks, the British. But the words of Jesus foretell an end to this domination by the nations. We've been privileged to see it in our own days. In 1948, the nation of Israel was reestablished as a state in the land of Palestine. 1967, Israel recovered control of the city of Jerusalem, which was their national capital again. In other words, this remarkable prophecy of Jesus has actually been fulfilled in our days. What does he say next? There shall be signs in the sun, in the moon, and the stars upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. We have here a remarkable picture of a world in distress, distress of nations with perplexity, men's hearts failing them for fear, for expectation of the things which are coming on the earth. A world power is needed to deal with all nations, to compel the rebellious to act for the common good, to deal with the world problems like hunger, pollution, to check the growth and the power of the nation's weapons, which is a threat to human life on the earth. And there have been attempts by various dictators over the years to control the world. And again, our Bibles tell us that humans have been given power to control the affairs of the world, but only for a limited time. When the time of the end comes, control of the world will be taken from them. For the kingdom is the Lord's. He is the ruler over the nations. When the future king of the earth is established, all kings shall fall down before him. All nations shall serve him. So the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. The world problem prophesied in the Bible from the beginning will receive a world solution. That is the only way of solving it. Men of old, inspired by God, knew this over 2,500 years ago. And yet, only 100 years ago, the most informed of men were quite wrong in their predictions about the future of the earth. We need a leader who can guide and urge on the citizens to achieve their ends. Back in the 19th century, when the British Parliament had debated the issue of abolition of slavery, there were too many vested interests in the sugar plantations of Jamaica. Parliament was finally persuaded as a result of the devoted efforts of Wilberforce and his friends over a period of 30 years or more. Without the leader in this cause, nothing would have been done. So the ungodly